Debbie,
Hello.
thank you for joining me.
Pleasure.
I've been looking forward to this conversation. Tell me, who is Debbie Bright?
Well, many things to many people.
Very important person to a lot of
absolutely.
people.
Well, sometimes I don't think I'm important, but I've just come back from a really lovely break of a month away backpacking around Asia, and I realised how much I missed. And I think sometimes you have to do that break because everyone takes Debbie Bright for granted, and I am many things to many people. And I remember my nan saying at one point, God bless her, she's gone a long time ago, very old, hard Irish woman, she said, "You'll never please everybody all the time." And I think I've tried to, but you can't. They're very true words. So I'm a wife to Dave. I'm a daughter to my dad, who we'll talk about him later, but he's unfortunately left us. My mum has got Alzheimer's, so I'm a carer for my mum. I'm a sister. I've got a brother and a sister who I also am very close to. I'm a mother. I'm a foster mother. I'm a grandmother, and I'm a friend. So I'm many things to many people, and sometimes I feel, to be honest, that I'm so split in all different directions that month away with a backpack, just walking and travelling, was just a recharging of my batteries. I know people think I must be mad because they think, why didn't she just go and lay by a pool?
I was just going to say, under a parasol on the beach, surely.
That's just not me.
No, so you need to be active.
Yeah.
Which it's very clear, because how many children have you been fostered to now?
So I've fostered over 200 children, and I've been fostering for 32 years. So when I started fostering, I was 20, in my late 20s. And I only had 2 children at the time, which were Georgia, my oldest, who's now 35, is she? Or 34, 35. And Lydia, who everyone knows Lydia Bright, because it drives all my other children crazy, because everyone goes, "It's Lydia's Bright's mum." And they'll go, "Well, you're my mum as well." Because everyone actually thought she was an only child on Towie.
She smashed it on socials, doesn't she?
She smashed it.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just busy the whole time. Like, the girl is just focused, and her energy and enthusiasm to succeed at
Where did she get that from?
I've got no idea where she gets that from. But yeah, everybody on Towie used to think she was the only child. So she's one of 6.
So you started fostering right at the time that your own children were young?
Very young. So Georgia was 3 and I think Lydia was 2. So I had them 2 in a double buggy when I started fostering.
So we had a double buggy.
Yeah.
I've got 2 daughters now, 13 and 15.
Right.
And I remember that time being really quite busy, quite stressful. But all the stuff that comes at you that's new, from going back to nappies to then learning to walk, to nursery and so on, to then deliberately take the decision to help other children be a foster mum. I want to know the why behind that.
To be honest, and I will be very honest, I didn't overthink anything, and I'm very like that. I don't plan or think anything in my life. I mean, an example of that was this morning.
I wasn't going to bring up the fact that you had not got it in the diary.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll get rid of it. I don't really.
Is it today?
Yeah, I don't really overanalyze anything. I don't think about things, and I truly had never heard about fostering. So I'd always been in fashion, and I had a really good job from school. I was travelling and stuff. Then I had Georgia, and then I fell pregnant with Lydia when Georgia was 3 months old. So they're like almost Irish twins. They were born more or less, one was born December, one January. I thought, well, I can't go back to work now because, by the time I put them in nursery and paid for 2 nursery fees. And then I thought, I'm just going to go back to work when they both go to school. And then I was sitting next to this woman, because I talk to everyone, which drives my kids crazy because it takes me hours to get anywhere. Because I'm like, hello, so
They'll love you for that though as well.
I started talking to this lovely lady. I don't even know her name. I mean, this was 33 years ago because it took a year to be assessed. And I said, oh, are they all your children? I only had Georgia and Lydia at the time. And she went, oh, no, they're not all mine. I foster. I went, oh, yeah, I think I'd quite like to do that. And she went, oh, they're really short of foster carers at the moment. So I said, oh, okay, I'll give you my number and just pass it on. Yeah, I think I'll do that till they go back to school. So she went, oh, that'd be lovely. Never seen her again. Don't remember her name. Now, she changed my life. But more importantly, she changed so many children's lives.
What an influence, right?
And she doesn't even know it. No. She was a stranger. And that's why I'm always saying to my children, you need to talk to strangers. Get off your phones, put your phones away, talk to the person next to you, the woman next to you on the bus or the train or in a cafe, because all of these people will lead you to the next direction in your life. And that's what she done. And if only I could kiss her and hug her and tell her she's been amazing, and she has made life so much fuller for so many people. You know, she doesn't even know it. And then I went home and I spoke to my husband, Dave. Well, he wasn't my husband at the time. I've only just married him because I've been waiting for my knight in shining armour and he didn't arrive. So I thought best marry him. And he went, absolutely not. We've got our hands full.
I think I'd have been there, by the way.
But most men, I think, would do that, to be honest. I really do.
But I guess how much of what is involved is he involved with? And that's probably where we're coming to.
Well, no,
right?
he wasn't at the time. No. And I must say, and I will be...
Did you convince me that? You said, this is on me, I'm going to be...
No, I just said, well, I'm doing it.
Mind's made up.
Yeah, my mind's made up. I'm a very strong, like if I want to do something, but I've been like that since I was a child. If I want to do something, I'll just do it. I'm not worried about anybody else. I've never worried about that. I've always thought, well, if I feel I want to do it in my heart, I've never followed my head. If my heart's telling me, then I will just do it. And the rest is history. A year after I'm meeting that woman, might even been shorter, maybe 9-10 months, because somebody phoned me, I think, 2 days later, and I'd forgot about it by then, because it's 2 days later. And they went, we're calling you from social services. We've heard that you've expressed interest in fostering. I went, I forgot all about that. So I said, yeah, that'd be quite nice. Would you like to come round for a cup of tea? And they went, that'd be lovely. And they come round, and then literally 9-10 months after that, I had a newborn baby arrive, a little girl. And she would be now 32, and I could be sitting next to her on a bus or a train, and she wouldn't even know that I looked after her for the first year of her life. And I often think I could be walking past her. Actually, she was Italian. I'm going to tell you that she was Italian. And it's a very sad story, but anyway, she arrived in my arms. And I loved her for the first year of her life. And my two daughters, Georgia and Lydia, they had their real life doll, didn't they? Because they could feed her and change her. They was incredible with her. And then she was adopted a year later.
How much of what you do is sort of preparing children to go into adoption, and how long do they stay with you? Is there a different answer to that question over the 200, or is there sort of a few years with you? How does that work?
At that time, going back to this little girl, adoptions were very closed. So, you'd foster a baby, and then when the adopters come along, obviously you have a transition period, but then that's it. Because it was, and I sort of kind of get it, but not really. I always struggled with it, but, they're waiting to have a baby, haven't they? You don't know if they've been trying for 10 years or 15 years. Things have really changed over the years. And then, of course, they pick their baby up and they just want, don't they? They don't want anybody else in their life. So I kind of got it, but it does, and it has broken my heart over many years. I even get upset now, look.
I saw that,
mathematician.
and I'm not trying to make you upset. I think you're
absolutely.
such a positive person. You met you outside bowling down the street, big hugs. You're a larger than life personality,
Yeah.
and I think that's obviously a massive strength of yours. But
Yeah.
clearly there is an emotional attachment, and a
Oh,
lot
absolutely.
of the yes,
Yeah.
and so many of these children, even this Italian girl you just mentioned, have a story behind them. I mean, I don't want you to have to go into particularly, but have you really seen a sort of dark side to human beings, if you like, through this side? Because you get the fulfillment and the light that comes at the end, and being able to facilitate, children to be able to, dare I say, have a happy life where they simply wouldn't have done if they hadn't been connected to you. But have you seen some trauma? Have you sort of become aware of lessons learned from some of the children that have really suffered?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like the trauma these children arrive with is horrendous sometimes. And also the trauma that, I don't think anyone actually understands the trauma that it gives foster carers, because even that baby moving on, that's traumatic. But I'm not thinking about myself, because I've also thinking, you've got to think about Georgia and Lydia, because they're losing a sister, because 1 minute they're looking after a baby for a year, and also, so your feelings and everything have to be so kept in, because you're just trying to keep all the family together. When you was asking, sorry, I'll just go back to that, because with adoptions, it has really, really changed over the years. Nearly all my adoptions over the last, I'd say 5-10 years, have been same-sex couples, so either 2 males or 2 females, or a single male or a single female, because women have sperm donors now, don't they? Or they go for IVF or things like that. So things have really changed. And a lot of adoptions are now open adoptions, so I still get to see them. And if they move far away, it's just video calls, I think, but you still see them growing up. And that is peace for me, because I can see they're happy. I can see that, that they're growing into a family, and that's peace. So things have really changed for the positive, but there are many adoptions that I had before things started changing that I just don't know what happened to them. And what upsets me is they never know what influence. It's like a bit of a book, isn't it? If you open a book, they're missing a big chapter of their life.
It's really well put.
That they'll never be able to read, will they? Because that's gone.
But I remember the bit with you. I mean, you must visibly see changes from children that, dare I say, have locked their emotions up and have been treated appallingly, to then be given love, to give them support, and an instant kind of family, if you like. And I think one of the things that's key to that is there's a loneliness pandemic in this world now, whether it's people consumed by their own social media and therefore not talking to others, like you said earlier about talk to strangers and so on. But that sense of tribe, sense of community, I can only imagine what it must be like to be in your house, let alone 30 years ago, 20 years ago, just always buzzing, probably all communicating.
Yeah.
Have you watched children come in and go from locked up emotionally to then flourishing?
I've seen many, many children like that. There's 3 at the moment that I've got, and the middle one in particular, she's just, I had actually my supervision social worker yesterday. So every 3 months you have supervision with your social worker as a foster carer, and you talk about the goods, the bads, any issues, what's going on. And one of the questions she asked me, what's your biggest, greatest achievement of 2024? And I said, seeing this child, I won't say her name, but this little girl who's 7, absolutely, she is a different child.
So you watched her transform, right?
Absolutely. She's gone from being very teary, very introvert, very fearful, no confidence, to like a little madam now. Like she's singing and ordering everyone around, and you see massive transformations. But it's not always the transformations like you visualise, where they are quiet, and there's a lot of children that are complete opposite, where they're just smashing things up and swearing and absconding and excluded from school. So it's the other side. I think personally for me, I find it much more difficult to deal with children who are very closed and inward. So like this little girl in particular, that's why I see it as a great achievement for me, because I find that personally really hard to get to. I deal so much easier when they're swearing and kicking off and
they're being authentic though, right? Which is what you are. You exude authenticity. So just being yourself.
I can deal with that much better for some reason. Whereas when they're like really hard to get through, I mean, these 3 girls that I'm talking to you about, the eldest one is I still haven't cracked that yet, but I'm still working on it. And actually the month that I was away travelling in Asia, I was thinking of all things I can do with her and I've realised I really need a little bit more time on my own with her, you know, rather than with so many kids around. And
that's interesting because I was going to ask you this, there's no real training for it, you know, so you, like, look at this conversation now. We both agreed that we would have no conversation until we sit down together, so it's raw and authentic. You're doing that in foster parenting now. You've got 30 odd years of experience, John, but going back to 30 years ago, your own experiences were through your own children. So when you do have, I guess, you know, a trickier personality to deal with, you've got to take yourself out, remove yourself and work out how to do it. Do you have any advice? Do you have any professional advice that you either seek out or that can come from, you know, an organisation, if you like, to help you with that?
Again, that's really changed immensely. You do have initial training when you start fostering, which is it's a very basic course, you know, but I think whatever training, to be honest with you, you know, over the years I've done so much training, you know, I've got certificates for like every training you can think of. I've done art therapy, play therapy, you know, there's so much that I've done over the years, but I don't think really there's any training at all that can prepare you for what you are going to deal with as a foster carer. And I don't think there's any book in the whole country that can help you, because every foster carer is different and every child is different. And I think you work it out yourselves. And I think experience, like what you were saying, for some of the things that I do now, I wouldn't have done 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20, you know, all of my experiences I've been through, and I've learned what I've done wrong, and I've learned what I could have done better.
You're learning literally on the job.
Yeah, like parenting.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
I'm
parenting.
there now.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you've got 2 teenage daughters, you've got a long way to go, and you're going, I'm going to go
I'm in the trenches right now, yeah.
You are, you know, and I think my biggest asset was that if I'm totally honest with you, is not the training, not the books, not the learning, but I've got a very supportive family. They're my rock. So everybody helps each other. And I think not just my family, community, I belong to a big, huge community of incredible people. And, you know, we need to just pull in from that. We need to pull in from the resources we've got around us. And it might not be going on a course for this or reading that book. It might be just your neighbour next door, or a local youth club at the church, or a tennis club down the road. That's your resources. And if you do not involve yourself in a community and you do not involve your family with fostering, it's never going to work.
No. You articulated that so well. It's made me think of something else, actually. By bringing foster children into the environment of existing children that are, I guess, ultimately, you know, your flesh and blood, there's an element of, I don't want to say priority, because I can imagine that's like, you know, I can imagine in your company, like you're looking after everybody, making sure they're all okay. But have you ever had a situation where you've been fostering children that you actually genuinely have to worry about the safeguarding, if you like, of your existing family? Because you've got a community there. So your greater community you just mentioned, but in that sort of house of 12 that you could be at that time, if one of them is potentially showing anger or behaviour that could actually really negatively influence and bring the sort of dynamic of your family down, have you had that, and how do you deal with that?
I've had it so many times.
I thought you might. From an empathetic point of view, I'm like, what would you do?
I know, when you ask that question, it's like, it sort of hits you in the face, because I've had it so many times. First of all, as a foster carer, yes, you do have to safeguard to a certain extent. Well, to every extent, to be honest, not to a certain extent, because it's about protecting your children, my children, and protecting yourself. But on the flip side of that, you've got to keep it as a normal flowing household, as loving as possible, because fostering is about bringing children into a loving and caring and safe environment without being too restrained and, like health and safety rules and policy rules. But there are certain things I've always been really adamant about. I mean, first of all, children that you foster cannot share the same bedrooms as your own children. So that's number one. Number two, they cannot go into the bedrooms of your own children. And, you have to really know when you're in the home, you have to really know what they're all doing most of the time. So we have like this really rule that's always been in my house, that when they're all playing, they play downstairs, they don't play upstairs.
The communal side of things is downstairs.
So I don't know what they're doing upstairs. So I've got a playroom and a kitchen area and a garden, and it's sort of at the back of the house, and that's where they all play and they are. So I kind of know most of the time what they're doing. And also if other children come to the house, they can't go upstairs, they have to stay in that area. Children that I care for, but even my children, and they can't really have sleepovers. They can't go to like their friends' houses because then I have to get them police checked. So there's things that you sort of tweak, and you work around. But because I've lived that life for so many years, it's normality to us and it's normality to my children. Unfortunately, this is statistics, 47% of foster carers leave within the first 2 years of fostering because of allegations.
Really?
And that's nearly half. So I'm always really preaching to social services. It's not about recruiting foster carers, it's about retaining them. Another part of my job is I'm a hub carer. So this idea come from America, years and years ago, but realistically, when you read about it, it's called the Mockingbird model. It's really based around the old Barnardos model. So anybody that reads or knows anything about Barnardos, they used to have homes in Barkingside, which is East London, and there would be like a mother, and she'd look after like 8 to 10 children in this home, but then there'd be another house next to them that is called the Barnardos Villages, and then there would be another mother with 8 or 10 children, and they'd all live in this little community of villages. The hub is sort of based around that, and most local authorities have hubs now. There's a few that still haven't. So I'm a hub mother. So I can look after between 9 and 14 foster carers. So they all live within my area. So they'll all be, around the corner or, 10 minutes in the car. So whatever children are placed with them from the local authority also become part of my hub. So my role in that is if there's anything those foster carers need to do. So you might say, I've got a wedding next weekend, can you have the children? They automatically come to me. They haven't got to think, I've got no one to have the kids.
Goes back to community.
It goes back to community, or they can't go to them because they've not been police checked, so they come to me. The asset of that, the children know where they're coming. They're not going to strangers. So they don't have to phone social services and say, I'm away, I've got to go away for 4 days. Because then social services then have to find another foster carer who they wouldn't know. So the children always come to somebody that they know, which is me, and I spoil them rotten. I do monthly activities where all the foster children come with me and some of their foster carers, but if the foster carers need a break, I take them. So, for example, this Saturday, I took them all bowling at the O2. So the asset of that is these children, when they first come into foster care, all think that they're the only child that's fostered. They don't think that anyone else is in care. They don't, because you're a child, you don't know.
So they feel isolated, feel lonely.
Totally isolated. Then they don't want to tell their friends at school that that's not their mum picking them up. And then when they do tell their friends at school, we know how horrible children could be sometimes. if they have an argument, they go, well, your mum don't love you and your dad don't want you, that's why you're with. So it's a very isolating thing. So all of a sudden they go, what, you're fostered as well? And you're fostered? Oh, I can't. Why are you in foster care? And they will start talking about why they're in foster care.
They've got relatability to be together, right?
It's such an incredible model. And, there's been, I can tell you a million pure, wonderful stories that when I've listened to them talking, and I just think, like, that's such an important thing for them. Also, the foster carers can feel quite isolated, especially if they're a child who's kicking off, so they can't go here, they can't go there, or, they can just come with us and, I'll have them and take them. It's an incredible model, absolutely incredible. And then if the foster placement breaks down, which a lot of foster placements break down, these children move a lot, they automatically come to me until either they can work things out with the foster carer, in time, everybody's mood and that heightened state of anger comes down. And even with your own children, I'm not sure, but do they go to their nans or their aunts, or just when you've had enough? It's the same kind of thing. But with foster children, they don't have that outlet. Whereas I remember me, I'd go round your nans, go round your aunts, They don't have that. Whereas now...
You had somewhere to go, whereas these kids don't.
So it stops foster breakdowns because they come to me, things go a bit calmer, especially with teenagers. Things go a little bit calmer. The foster carer has a couple of days break, a couple of glasses of wine with her friends, and 2 or 3 days later, things start looking a bit better.
That's brilliant. I've learned so much just from that. And one thing that's very, very clear is so much comes back to you. And what I mean by that is that, I don't even know when you get any sleep. I know you've just come back from this this month's backpacking. And although we joked about it, but at what point are you getting some rest? What are you doing to keep those batteries charged? Because you look radiant right now and your eyes are fully lit with purpose, passion, fulfillment. But how are you doing that? Because you are doing so much. And what are you doing to look after yourself?
I probably need 6 hours sleep. If I've got 6, 8 if I can, that's fine. Because, when I have babies, and I still do newborn babies, people go, how do you do the sleepless nights?
That's what I'm sitting here thinking.
I love the sleepless nights because I just think that time of the night when they get up for their feed, and I think, I get them out of their little cots. So my house is quiet. I think, oh my God, there's no noise. And I just sit there and just look at these little bundles of joy, really. And I just do. I just keep going.
So you've got the energy for it. My point being, there's no part of you that is in any way getting tired of it. Because I feel like you're going to do this forever.
Well, everyone says that as well. And I say, the day that I wake up and I get out of bed and I don't run down the stairs or go, get your school bags, like, where's your... It's the day that I think, right, I can't do this anymore. And, that day, will come. It's inevitable. The one thing we can all be sure of is we're all going to get older. We're all going to die, and it's about fulfilling every single day of your life until that day comes.
And you've got full days. It's actually it's very much against what you do every day to go backpacking. And you could call it selfish, which is exactly what I'm sort of glad to hear you've done, right? Because it's selfless what you're doing 24/7, really. You're looking after so many people, even bringing the foster group into play, let alone the immediate family. Your husband, where does he sit with this? So from being against it 30 years ago, I'm just imagining those peaceful, quiet nights where he's like, I don't get them anymore because there's a baby.
No, he does.
Where's he at with it?
Don't worry about him. Don't worry about Dave. He definitely does. He's the complete opposite to me. So he's... That
works, right?
So laid back, he's just slow laid back. It does work. Well, it has worked because we got married 5 years ago, but I've been with him since I was 17, 18.
Congratulations.
So in lockdown, we built this beautiful log cabin at the end of our garden with a wood burner. Well, that's where he spends a lot of his time.
So he's literally got the shed in the garden.
That's his man cave,
Oh,
as they
brilliant.
say.
Bless him.
So we've got like this side gate. So I think, where is he?
At least you know where you can find him.
Where's he gone? He don't answer the phone, and then I look and I can see the smoke coming out the chimney where he's put the log burner on, and I think, oh my God, he's down the man cave again. So that's his little bit of escapism. And going back to Dave when I first started fostering, and you probably think I'm like the most honest person in the whole universe. I'd probably say he wasn't the greatest father. I do say this to my kids as well, Georgia, Lydia, Freddie, Roma, Ellie and Tommy. I do say it to them because they all idolise him. Like, he can't do nothing wrong. I'm the one who does everything wrong and he can't. They worship the ground he walks on. And I think, what? Like,
I need to meet him.
No, I mean, what, because, he did work. He was on the building. He was in construction, so he did work. But he's a very man's man. So he'd work, go down the pub. Work, go down the pub. I'd be like 7 kids and picking up from school and dropping off and things. He done what he can. I suppose we all do the best we can. But they will not have nothing said about him at all. They all adore him.
He's done something right, because as a dad, if I can have my kids adoring me as adults, I'll be pleased. They adore him. They do everything for him. Like, it's always, oh, get that for Dad, do this for Dad, do that. But I must say, as he's got older, I noticed he's got older, so probably from like maybe 10 years ago, so he's 65 now, 65, 50, 66. He's 66 in March, so he's nearly. And he changed. And all of a sudden he went from this, like, always, not really being much hands-on to, like, he's such a hands-on foster daddy now. And I think we all have that ability to change. And I think it depends where you are in life. Yeah, absolutely.
Like where you are in life. And, Loretta, our only granddaughter at the moment, we've got another one coming in June. Like, she absolutely adores him. So if I go to pick her up from school, she'll come out of school, she'll look at me, give me the filthiest look, and she'll
disappointed.
Go, where's Grandad? And I go, what? Like, it's Nanny. She goes, yeah, but where's Grandad? She just loves him. So he's a very gentle, kind man, very laid back, whereas I'm like the opposite.
It's obviously worked for him, it's worked for you.
Yeah.
I want to open up the parenting part, again, dad, myself, navigating social media, navigating all the kind of, don't do that, why have you not done your chores and so on. I want to know how you ultimately have had at times a tribe around you, how you've got them to help you. Are they emptying the dishwasher? Are they stacking the plates?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot to be said about the fact that kids that are left to just be on their own devices, not communicating, and if you encourage them to do stuff together. I just want to know how you've encouraged that side of parenting.
Well, for me, I'm coming from both sides, I know, because I've got quite social media influencers in my house, so that's how they earn their money. It is, unfortunately, we have to all accept, because I don't like it, but we have to all accept, saying that I don't like it, but I'm on Instagram and stuff, but we have to all accept that the world is changing, and it's changing quite rapidly. I think sometimes I look back at life and I think how life has changed so much, and I think sometimes I feel like I'm on a roller coaster and I think, I just want to stop and get off for a minute, and have a breather, and then I'll get back on again. And I think that's what, with my children, I'm very strict around anything like that. So definitely no phones until they go secondary school. I don't let them on any social media, nothing at all. With my 6 birth children, they're not allowed to be on their phones if we're at the dinner table. They're not allowed their phones all Christmas Day, Boxing Day, they have to put their phones away. If we go on holiday, they have to put their phones away. And if the two, which is mainly Lydia and Roma, because they're the influences, they have to be on their phone. They have to go away and do it in another room or away from everybody else.
So you're controlling that. You're influencing
I'm controlling it.
Yeah.
Controlling it completely.
I understand that.
And I think every parent has to realise that you're a role model. So don't sit there at the table, I bet you do this, on your phone, and your children are looking at you, because then don't moan at them if they go on their phones, because they're watching what you're doing. The same as women, if the child's talking to you when they come home from school, listen to them. Don't be on your phone and they're trying to tell you what's happening at school. And we've all got busy lives. You know, my God, my life is like 100 miles an hour every day. But we have to be positive role models. Any games or iPads, every child that comes to me from other foster carers, I say to them, do not pack their iPads or any kind of technology. Leave them at home, because when they do come with them, and I have had them come with them, they are so aggressive when I try and take it off of them or say, no, that's enough now. And we're out all the time anyway. So I said, you don't need to pack it. We're going here tomorrow, dear. We're out the whole time, so we don't need to pack anything. And the children are so much happier without them. So much happier. And I haven't stopped lecturing everyone since I come back, because, like you said, I've just come back from Vietnam and Cambodia, backpacking. And these kids over there have got nothing. They've got no shoes on their feet. They've got plastic bottles with stone in, and they're playing and laughing and running around. And then there's our kids that have got absolutely everything, and they're sitting there moaning. And I said, no, you're not moaning. And when we went out, I took 24 children out with me on Saturday to the bowling at the O2. Not one of them had a phone. Not one of them had an iPad. We went bowling all day. Then we went over to Greenwich Park. Then I took them on the cable cars, and then we got the tube back to Stratford. Then we went to the Olympic Park, and then I got them all sweets and drinks at the Olympic Park.
Imagine you like the Pied Piper.
Yeah, I had to do a head count every time we got on the tube, and they was like this on the tube coming back like that. And you know, all the foster carers, the ones that didn't come with us over, they went, I was absolutely shattered when they come home. Good, that's what they're meant to be, shattered.
Yeah.
You know, so we need to, I know we have to accept it. We have to accept it, because that's the way the world is. But we need to
You can manage it, right?
We need to manage it, and we need to be conscious of what we're doing.
How much of the that sort of managing and discipline, if you like, do you bring into the children at home to do the chores? Because if you were doing it all, I'm not saying you would, you'd have no time. So actually, it's quite clever from your point of view to delegate, but also then the kids are teaching, work ethic, habits, and so on that make them much better grown-ups, if you like, rather than having it all done for them.
I think a happy child is a busy child, right? And I think we have to prepare. I have to. One part of my role as well, you prepare them for independence. It's no good me having this child and then they don't know how to put washing machine on when they leave. It's about preparing them. They've all got chores. In the morning if I'm doing breakfast, I go, right, come on girls, unload the dishwasher. So they unload the dishwasher. Yesterday I was out the whole Saturday and Sunday, so the house was like bombs hit it yesterday, and I didn't even touch the toy room. And when they come home, I went, no, I'm not doing the toy room. I'm not doing the toy room. You have to all go in and you all help tidy up the toy room, because there's stuff everywhere in there.
But that brings a community together. Then they might be chatting while they're doing it and so on.
Absolutely, you can hear them, and then they're all competing, and they're always going. Now they're like, what should we do now? What should we do? They want to do jobs. So, and I have Star of the Week. So I say, right, Star of the Week is the one that I feel has helped me all through the week without me having to ask, because I don't want to have to say, do you think you could do this? Do you think you can pick up the towel? Do you think? So if I observe that you're doing things without me asking you, and you're using your own initiative and you're helping Debbie, because Debbie's busy, then you'll get Star of the Week, and I'll take you out on your own and we'll have a cup of coffee and a cake at the Bell Chic, and you can have a hot chocolate with marshmallows. So whoever gets Star of the Week gets a bit of Debbie on their own, and they absolutely love that.
That's brilliant.
Absolutely, they all fight to be Star of the Week. So they're like, hoovering and doing the bed and stuff like that. But I've done that with my children. I mean, some of them are not just. There's some children that it's a real battle to get them to do anything. I mean, teenagers, let's face it, no way, Jose. So, I can remember, the arguments I've had with all of my kids over where they wouldn't pick up their dirty washing, or, they've got fake tan all over the walls, or, the shower's still got all the stuff in, but you just got to keep going.
Sounds like my house.
And I remind them now, because two of them, the children, they've got their own homes now, but they're spotless, absolutely spotless.
It's gone in.
I go to them, I remember around Lydia's once, this is the truth, I was standing there, and I was eating a cheese roll, and the crumbs went on the floor. She went, oh, God. And I went, are you joking? Are you absolutely joking? She started sweeping up around me. So they keep their homes immaculate. And also, Ellie and Tommy have just got their own flats, which are they both got flats in Hackney. And the same as then, you go round and they're spotless.
This is great for me to know, because I think at times I can see, particularly my wife, totally despondent with the sort of teenage behaviour, and it's exactly as you described.
Yeah.
The whole fake lashes, and can you even see the skirt?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the fake tan is crazy,
I mean,
right?
the skirt. I mean, like the rolling up of the skirt. That's gone on 30 years, generations. Like as soon as they go out the door, they roll it over about 10 times, don't they? And
that's where I'm at right now.
And you just got I just go, okay, I've told you to roll your skirt down. If you're going to go to school like that, tell the teacher not to phone me to come and pick you up to take you home, because I'm not going to answer the phone. Right? That's just what I say.
Been there.
Yeah.
I'm so conscious of time. There's so many things I'd love to ask you about. I wanted to ask what advice you'd give to someone as our sort of final bit of conversation, because you've got so much knowledge, wisdom from all that perspective and maturity of everything you've done. If someone was being inspired by you right now, quite simply, and wanted to do this, what's the one kind of big feedback that you could sort of give to them?
Try not to overanalyze things, try not to think too much about it. I think if you really are thinking about fostering or adoption, because there's lots of people that hopefully are listening to this podcast that might think, oh, I'd quite like to foster, or do you know what? I'd like to adopt. Try not to think about it too much, because if your heart's telling you that you want to do it, don't worry about what your head's saying. With fostering, there's no one's going to hold a gun to your head. So even if you do it for a year and you think, do you know what, this really isn't for me, you've tried it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Okay? With adoption, yes, it's a bigger commitment, because with fostering, if it doesn't work out, because all children, they call them placements, but all children that come to live with you when you're fostering may come to live with you for a week, a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It's not forever. Do you know what I mean? It's basically to work out, first and foremost, if they can go back with their families. And so when you take that child, you're doing the best you can for when they're with you. And it might be just, showing them love. It might be teaching them how to explore the world. It might be teaching them, just simple things like sitting at the table, eating dinner with you. It's just real, pure, simple things that you take for granted that they haven't had. With adoption, it's a much more final commitment. You'll know if you want to adopt, because you'll feel like an empty space that you need to fill. And let me tell you, every adoption that I've done, and I've done lots of adoptions, they are thriving with their parents, absolutely thriving. And I'm a great believer with adoption that sometimes children don't necessarily come from you, but they come through you. And that child is meant, if you're going to do it, that child that ends up with you is meant to be with you. That was written for you. It's your part of your book. It might not be the beginning, it might not be the ending, but it's your part of your individual book. So those who are listening to this and they're thinking about fostering adoption, just reach out to your local authorities. Your local authorities will have open evenings for fostering, and they will also have open evenings for adoption. And just go along, it doesn't mean to say that you've got to sign your life away. Just go along and find out more information.
Well, be curious. But I think you've given so much insight. I've learned so much just from this conversation now, and you are an absolute inspiration.
Oh,
you really
thank
are.
you.
I feel so lucky you've made time to be with me amongst
thank you.
I almost felt exhausted listening to you. I need you to get back, but you just radiate energy.
Oh, thank you
thank
very
you so much,
Oh,
Debbie.
thank you. Thank you. It's been lovely to meet you too.
I've loved it.
You.
I've loved it.